In this video, I am going to analyse my golf swing. Now, I should say I'm not a professional golfer. I am an amateur who plays off of 7, so I can play golf, but there are quite a lot of things in my golf swing that I believe are issues that I need to correct in order to become a better golfer and a better ball striker. Now, as part of my Journey to Scratch series, which I'll link to in the description below, I am basically going back to basics with my golf swing and working from the fundamentals up. So I'm making use of the Pure Your Irons course by Me My Golf, and what's great about that course is it allows you to go through different sections, starting with the absolute fundamentals and working up to basically, hopefully, hitting your irons very, very well. So what I'm going to do in this video is I've taken 2 swings, both with irons. These are 8 irons down the line and front on, and I have captured them in slow motion, so about 240 frames per second. And this is my swing as it is just now. So this is before me making any changes. This is just how I swing the golf club at this moment in time. So I'm going to use the Skillest app, which is one of the ones that's basically used for online golf coaching. And what's really good about this is it has some really cool tools in it that you can use to annotate, which is what I'm going to do in this video. So to get started, what we're going to do is I'm just going to open up my down the line view with the analyzer. And this is basically my setup as it is. Now, if when you're watching this video, if there's anything that you think that I am mentioning that is maybe a bit of an issue, then please let me know in the comments area if you're thinking, actually, that's pretty good and you're probably barking up the wrong tree. But equally, if there's anything that I'm missing that's glaringly obvious and you have experience with this, then please do let me know in the comments area below. Any feedback is appreciated. I'm at the stage right now where I'm trying to improve things, and so I'm happy to enter in the discussion and take some advice from people for different things to try. Whilst you're there, make sure you do hit that like button, and of course subscribe to the channel. So let's just run my swing here. So this is 240 frames per second, 8 iron in the practice net at home. So there's my backswing, top of the swing, downswing and impact, and then there's me at the end of my golf swing. So that is basically my swing down the line as it is. Let's drop this back to around about just before the sort of takeaway. So this is me in my kind of setup position. And I'm going to talk you through some of the things here that I think are a bit of an issue. So the first one, if I just draw a line, now I should have had alignment sticks down, but I didn't. But let's say that that one there is basically straight to target. One of the things that I have a tendency to do is to have my lower half, particularly my feet, open to the target. So I've not done that intentionally. I find with my setup, unless I've got sticks down, I tend to open my stance a little bit. Okay. The other thing that I am conscious of is that my trail foot is sometimes very square. So basically, if I'm trying to rotate, it limits me a little bit, and it's something that I want to start kind of flaring open a little bit. So I'll talk about that in the kind of front on view. So that's kind of first thing there around the slightly open stance. The other thing, let's just delete that for now. The other thing that I am aware of is I sometimes feel like I'm stretching to reach the ball. So right now I'm working through the Pure Your Irons course with Me My Golf, and one of the things they talk about in the setup is making sure that you're on the arches of your feet. So not the balls of your feet, definitely not your toes, not your heels, but on the arches. For me, I feel like I'm quite often on the balls of my feet, if not maybe even slightly on my toes, and I'm kind of reaching at the ball, and this can cause loads of issues with the swing in terms of consistent ball striking. So if I draw a line down here, the back of my arm, and there it's pretty much straight down, you'll see with that line there that it's going just through the toes. Now that line there should actually be a little bit further to the left. So really, according to the guys at Me and My Golf, what you're really looking for, if I change it to green, it'd be hard to get one close enough without touching the other line, but you're probably looking for something slightly more like this. I'll see if I can adjust it slightly. So yeah, something going through, obviously the green line going through the back of the arm, but it should be going through a little bit more of the shoe there and a little bit closer to the kind of knee. So for me, I'm just stretching a little bit, and that's something I'm going to try and tidy up by coming slightly forward with my stance. The final thing in here, in terms of my setup that I really, really do not like, is my posture. Now, see if I can highlight it in here with this tool here. But you see I've got this very curved back. Now, this is something that I struggle with in day-to-day life, so my posture is pretty poor. I think spending a lot of time working on a computer at a desk certainly hasn't helped with that, and it's something I'm working on away from the golf course. but I've always hated watching videos of my golf swing purely because of that, because I think it just doesn't look nice at all. There are professional golfers who have a very curved back like this, not a great posture, and they play good golf. But the vast majority of players that you see will have some sort of nice straight back like this. So this is something that I'm hoping to do, is just to relax their shoulders a little bit and to get that back straighter. And I think that's a fairly easy thing to work on. Right, let's bring this forward a little bit here. So I'm going to get to the sort of start of the takeaway there. So I don't think it's actually too bad here, to be honest, at this position. In terms of my spine angle and in terms of the club face, you will see that they're pretty much matched, although it's quite hard with the blurriness there. But I think I actually have the club head in a fairly good position. And then as I get up to here, a couple of the things that I have noticed. So first one here, I would say that that club face looks like it's kind of pointing a little bit too high, too much to the sky, and a little bit closed at this point here. But as we keep it going, the club face actually disappears because my backswing is so long. So at that point there, that is me at the top of my swing, and I am going right the way past parallel there, which is absolutely terrible. You'll see better on the next view. So obviously length of backswing, most pros are probably at this point when they're starting to come back down. I get right the way up to there, which isn't great. And then another thing, if I just highlight my hands here, the hands in terms of their position, for me, based on what I've kind of learned, is it looks like I've not rotated enough there at all. So certainly from kind of instructions I've seen online, the hands probably should be, going further, much deeper. So that rotation there is probably not quite enough, and I should have the hands nowhere near as high, but a little bit deeper in to allow me to, or to ensure I've actually fully rotated. So from there, if I just clear all of this and we bring it down, you'll see that movement there is down this way. So it starts really, it almost feels like the upper half moving down. And then the club is super steep at this point here. So it's hard to get it precise there on the club, but you can see there, that's how steep it is. And then it's even steeper at this point, comes over. And then very much for me, what I feel is, you'll see there, I'm early extending, and I feel like I keep the club face open at this point. Even though it's closed way up here, I think I open it just to try and actually hit the golf ball. So the club feels like it's very open. You can see if I highlight my hands at this point here, you'll see it better on the kind of front on. But you can see that as I come through impact, I don't have my right hand over on top of the left. You can still see I'm sort of holding that open just to allow me to hit it. And then through. And in this point here, that's actually probably not too bad a finish, although you'll see my hands are quite high there. So that is basically my swing as it is down the line. Those are some of the things that I think personally I want to work on. And a lot of the movements from the top of the swing and down, the downswing, I think could actually be corrected by setting up better. But as I said, let me know in the comments below if there's anything there that you think that actually I am correct about or incorrect about, or if you've got any suggestions, just let me know. Anyway, let's jump from here. Let's jump over to my face-on swing. So we'll do exactly the same. We'll go through a little preview of my swing. So this is, again, 240 frames per second. This is with my 8-iron as before. It's the exact same swing as the down the line one. It's just a front on camera. And that's me basically finishing the swing just there. So let's do the same thing again. Let's get me back to just before impact, which before starting the golf swing, which we'll go to there. And this is me at setup. So a couple of the things that I've noticed. As I said earlier, this foot here, I would like to try and just open it up slightly. I don't know why I can't draw an arrow with this, but anyway, I would like to try and just flare that trail foot just out a tiny little bit. The stance, I'm always concerned that my stance is a little bit too narrow, but actually, I think in terms of this one, it's not too bad. So if I draw, see if I can draw a square around myself here. Let's undo that and do the square from my ankle, which is where you're meant to do it from. You'll see here, it's probably actually a bit on the narrow side here, but I'm inside the box, so we're pretty much kind of just shoulder width. And generally what you're looking for here is to keep your body inside here. You don't want to be drastically outside of the box, certainly not to the right. But I'm inside there, and the takeaway, I don't think the takeaway is actually too bad at this point, but there are some big issues. So let me just take this off. Let's do my head with a little circle here. You see just how much my head actually moves. So if I bring it back, we'll get to position 1. Already there's a big issue. So my head here is really dipping. I mean, I'm dipping into that sort of left-hand side if I was looking at the circle from in my swing, but the right-hand side as we look at it, head's really dropping into that side. And if we bring it up here, what's basically happening, if I go to the top of my swing here, this is not even the top yet, but you'll see I've got this big sort of reverse spine movement here. So what, in my understanding, is that you should have your legs, let's say my legs would be like this, and then the spine should sort of tilt away like this, whereas for me, my spine is actually tilting almost this way, and that's why we've got this big, massive curvature. So what I would be looking to do is for this turn here, I'm assuming I want to turn a little bit more on my right-hand side, because right now I seem to have all of my weight on the left-hand side, and I'm turning into there. Now, if I just stop it here, that's me there right at the very, very top or end of my backswing. So if we were to draw a line which would be parallel there, you shouldn't even really be parallel, not with an 8-iron, but you can actually see just how far past parallel I am here. So there's me down there. It's absolutely wild. And then you can actually see from this view that club face is pointing basically straight up to the sky. So humongous amount of overswing, which is definitely something I'll be looking to correct. Really, I probably should be around about here. But anyway, there's where I get to. And then this for me is quite an interesting one. As I start the downswing, there is a little bit of movement to the right, but for me, it looks like I kind of move to the right all at the same time with my whole body. So you'll see there, it all shifts and starts to unwind together. Whereas if you looked at the good players, what's actually going to happen for them is their lower body is going to move this way, and then there'll be a delay in the back here. They'll be trying to keep that to target for as long as possible. So the lower body is going to go towards the target and then start to unwind, keeping the back for as long as possible at the target. Whereas look, I'm here and my back's already basically sort of 90 degrees from the target. So at this point here, it's not dreadful, but you can see I've sort of maintained a bit of an angle there with my arm and then with the club. But then as we go down to here, that angle is just completely thrown. So if you looked at what I would class as a good player here, they're probably going to have something like even closer to this, maybe not quite as wild, but they're going to maintain that. And then all that's going to happen, even at this stage here, they're presumably going to have the club maybe more sort of like there, if you like. And then those hands would just carry on through. And then there's going to be a nice sort of, if their hands were to be in, let's say their hands at this point here were there. So if that's where their hands get to, the club at this point is still probably going to be just in about there. Okay, whereas for me, you'll see that I've got everything's very, very much like straight here. So that's me impacting the ball, and it's a big straight line. If anything, it could actually be seen that the hands are maybe even slightly behind the ball there. So definitely need to work on maintaining that angle there, but I do everything I do so that I can at least just hit the ball. The interesting thing is if I just zoom in, let's see if I can deselect this and just get zoomed in. In terms of the ball, for me, generally what happens is I hit in these sort of areas here before the ball. You'll see in this one, I've connected with the ball. I've still probably grounded out in this area here, and then I've hit the ball. Whereas what I really need to get to is the stage where there, I'm impacting the ball, but the shaft's leaning like this, and I'm probably taking a divot there rather than taking one there. But anyway, let's just, let's undo that. Let's jump back up to the swing. And then as we carry on here, as I mentioned earlier, it looks like I've kind of released, but I've definitely not. So I think from this view here, if we look at my hands, this hand here is kind of pointing down to there, whereas you should be able to see the whole back of my hand if I've properly released with my trail hand. So I sort of hold it open just to allow me to actually hit the golf ball. Another thing you'll notice here with this movement, I actually think I do quite well to get the weight across to my left-hand side, but there's this like big monumental curve here, once again, in my leg. Whereas again, if you're thinking of the kind of decent players, they're probably straightening that one up slightly and moving up, as opposed to having it so bent. And then I come into finish. So that is basically where I am at with my analysis of my golf swing. Hopefully, I've got some things right there. As I said, I'm going to work through the basics from the Pure Your Irons course by the guys at Me and My Golf. So it's just going to start with all of the things like my alignment, my weight, my grip, all of those things. And I'm working on some of those at this moment in time. So I'm documenting that in the Journey to Scratch series, which is in the description below if you want to check that out. If you want to follow along with the journey or see more videos like this, please do hit that like button, drop a comment below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel because your support is really appreciated. Hopefully, with a little bit of work on this, things are going to get better. But thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.